Welcome back. You're still watching The Globe. Now, millions of people are facing severe hunger as a result of the worst drought in 40 years in the Horn of Africa. As the situation there deteriorates, aid agencies are fearing that a focus on the Ukraine crisis is likely to overwhelm the agenda and donors at a critical time for the East African country of Somalia in particular.
Right now, 1 in 4 Somali people is facing hunger caused by extreme drought. The United Nations is projecting that 4.6 million Somalis will not have enough food by May 2022. In the southern regions of Somalia, people are flocking to camps for internally displaced persons. The area is littered with dead goats, camels, sheep, cows and donkeys that have all died because of a lack of water. Aid workers say in the camps the situation is dire already. They say there is not enough food and only limited amounts of water are coming in. Many children are suffering from severe malnutrition. According to a statement by the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, only 3.2% or $47.1 million of the required funding amounting to $1.5 billion for humanitarian response plan has been received so far. The UN's World Food Programme says if the funding gap remains an issue, it will have to look at prioritizing funds. The organization has already been forced to transfer money from its preventative programs in Somalia to curative aid. After a devastating locust invasion, the negative economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing drought, the war in Ukraine might be the latest blow to the already worrying situation in East Africa. Last year, 53% of the food that WFP received in Somalia came from Ukraine. Now that the Ukrainian port of Odessa is closed for the export of food aid, the WFP is predicting food scarcity and skyrocketing prices for staples such as wheat and peas in Somalia.
Adan Farah is Country Humanitarian Advisor Save the Children International in Somalia, and he joins us now via Zoom from Garowe in Somalia. Thanks very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thanks.
This drought, it's been in the region for a number of years now, almost as if it's beyond the norm. It could be climatic conditions, climate shocks that are causing these severe droughts now. And I just wonder, what is the situation on the ground where you are as we speak?
Thanks. Well, the situation is really it's deteriorating, and this one is like a trend of a situation day by day getting worse, and all the numbers of are doubling. People who need food assistance, people who need water, children who need access to nutrition services and health. So it's really it's a kind of a situation which as humanitarian actors seems a similarity with the 2011 famine indicators, which the humanitarian actors and international community didn't give that much attention, and resulted that famine which claimed above 260,000 people. So it's really what we are observing right now through our early action system is a situation which can be a catastrophe if not prevented. So that is really what we are facing. We are facing funding gap to reach more people who need support. So that is the situation on the ground. And day by day, those compounding factors like the COVID and the locust infestation, the bus and the recurrent droughts, which basically back-to-back droughts. And today we have seen and observed in the last couple of weeks, an increase of food prices, fuel prices, which even making the urban poor communities who already were in a survival deficit are facing a similar situation like the situation already on the agro-pastoral and pastoral communities facing across Somalia because of the impact of drought. Yeah.
I know that you're in Garowe at the moment, and that's one of the areas that's an area of concern. How widespread, though, is this problem caused by this drought?
Really, this part of Somalia, in Garowe and areas near to Garowe, is one of the extremely, areas affected drought extremely, and people are, we're depending on, livestock and that way. So significant number of the population lost their livestock. And in recent weeks, people are selling their livestock in a cheaper and, price, which is a kind of depleting, their livelihood assets. And that it's also causing a significant impact to the resilience building that we were investing in the last couple of years. And that's reverse impact their livelihoods, and it's a really big challenge. So that's what's happening here, particularly in this side of Somalia.
Now, the word famine is pretty severe, and I just wonder, how close are we to seeing genuine famine conditions in the country, where there is a genuine fear that there could be fatalities from hunger?
Really, thanks to, we have not yet declared famine. I mean, the government have not yet declared famine. And of course, but we are warning, we see a situation like, which indicators showing hunger, children dying, starvation, particularly in southern part of Somalia, in that region bordering Kenya and Ethiopia. So, and in the middle, Bai and Bokol regions, particularly Bedawa area. So areas where already access was a challenge because of insecurity. So, and many of those districts already besieged, reaching them was very difficult. And those people have been, already exposed to more kind of drivers and factors that, making their humanitarian, making them difficult to cope with the shocks because of lack of access. So those people are walking a long distance to reach to major cities to get food and water with their children. So we had a number of reports, children died on this, on the way to come into those major cities. And when they come as they are very weak and they need, immediate support. But that support is not there. So the southern part is always having a kind of very complicated situation because of access and insecurity. And much of the cities are really besieged, and some of them cannot even having a challenge to get a supply of food, like that. So, and if you look like the supply and price market coming from WFP, most of those cities in southern part of Somalia is like facing double than the price in other areas in the country. Yeah.
Now, this is the third failed rainy season, which means for sure food stocks are down. Have any lessons been learned in the other 2 years to better prepare for the situation that we're in now?
Thanks. Really, the biggest challenge is the humanitarian needs in Somalia is huge always. And, when you are responding that number, year in, year out, the resources that you can allocate, for resiliency building, for capacity building, and, preparedness is limited. And then you try to save lives. And of course, you understand the resources, the government don't have resources also, whatsoever we are Save the Children and other actors in collaboration with other actors, we were trying to invest resilience building. We had a number of projects supporting communities' resilience, and we were trying to get an idea. Really, it's an area that's a priority for us in coming years, and been even the last couple of years. interested in area to support because of this recurring droughts and all this climate change side of it. That is a push factor for us to do differently what we have been doing in the past. Whatsoever, you can understand the government's priority is more security, and they can balance you to give support. So the fund is coming from the donors and international community might not be enough to balance that because of the absence of the services inside of the government. But we wish and expect, if we survive now and we'll continue at least to learning and trying to do different ways of building the resilience of the communities. We are working with the government and in areas on like social safety nets, and we wish that will progress. And that's really very strategic priorities for Save the Children in collaboration with our partners on the ground.
Let's talk a little bit about the children and their needs. What are some of the issues that you're having to deal with as a result of this fourth year of drought?
Sorry?
I was just saying, what kind of issues are you having to deal with in helping the children through this difficult time?
Thanks. Really, as Save the Children, we are, everything. Our program is centered, it's child-centered, and it's our priority number one. So, Save the Children, we already had with our partners supporting children through, providing and supporting livelihood side with their families. Access to education, access to water and sanitation, and also, health and nutrition services. We are supporting children through displaced, IDP camps, internal displaced people camps in major cities. So, but the number of people, children affected by this crisis are huge, and of course, we are facing that gap, and some of our facilities may get closed because of lack of funding. Some of other partners who are also doing the same services have closed in some areas in the country, their offices, because of lack of funding. But what we are trying to do is more on to support the children in those key areas to survive and to learn and continue learning, and also protection services.
Is nutrition an issue? Because during periods like this where you're eating to survive, children without proper nutrition start to deal with things like stunting and conditions that can be a problem and can't be reversed sometimes. Yeah,
really, we can. Currently, the situation is like even, it's a kind of even nutrition crisis because of we are facing the highest number projected to be malnourished, and there's a number of underlying causes when we see malnutrition. The food insecurity is one of it. If children do not access food and they're eating, maybe getting food like one time in a day or two times, even maybe the family cannot provide nutritious kind of food. So it's one of the biggest crises right now, and it's like almost 44% of the under 5 population, children population in Somalia are projected to be malnourished. So in that case, really, Save the Children, we already developed our response strategy for this drought, and together with our response strategy for the malnutrition of the children, and through our facilities, actually, Save the Children has a large footprint across Somalia, and we are partnering with the government to through that services, the health and nutrition service. So we are working with government closely to reach more children who are facing that malnutrition. And of course, we have the expertise, the facilities, the service that we can provide. The only challenge we can expect is the funding gap, and already it's happening. So yeah, that is the thing we are trying to do, and we used to do to support children malnourished by giving curative and supporting them. Those who are facing severe acute malnutrition, those who are facing severe acute malnutrition are sent to stabilization centers, and we do those kind of coordination with other humanitarian actors on the ground to work together and solve the malnutrition situation of the children.
Talking about this funding gap, are you finding that funds are coming in much slower as a result of the Ukraine crisis, where it seems as if a lot of focus have been shifted towards Eastern Europe, and some of these desperate situations perhaps not getting as much attention as support as they were in the past?
Yes, really. This drought has started 2021, at the beginning of 2021, and we have seen all indicators that showing the drought is going to be bad. And it proved that what we have predicted were coming true, every month then and then. So that we had faced, before Ukraine even situation, we have faced, like in Somalia, we had in these delayed elections. And that, made the international community who have presence in Somalia attention to more on the security, the election. And we were trying to redirect the attention, and really there was momentum in that area. But when Ukraine came and the global West particularly focused on the Ukraine crisis, we are really worried about that. And of course, so far we have seen that the first quarter of the year and 3% of 3.8% of the required funding for 2022 to support affected people are coming, and you can understand that way. So, and there's no major funds in the pipeline, though some of the donors are trying their best to continue support in critical areas. So right now we are worried about, and there is this operational priorities that was developed because of trying to reach the most severe areas. But if you leave the rest and their situation get worse, you will end up in a situation like every corner. People are facing extreme levels of malnutrition, extreme levels of food insecurity and food gap. So that's really a situation. So Ukraine is causing two situations. One is the food prices, fuel prices, which are skyrocketing across Somalia. In result of that, and of course you understand, like if fuel prices increase in Somalia, the transport increases, the water prices are increasing, and already we had those extreme water crises across the country. Food prices also are doubling, and of course in combination of this global trend, and as well as the failure of the rains that resulted poor harvest, or even a complete failure of harvest in some areas. At the other side is the focus is going to Ukraine in terms of the like the global kind of priority is right now more on Ukraine. So the donors are looking Ukraine, and then Somalia looks like we feel forgotten at this time, and at the same time we are facing a situation where millions of people are at threat, life-threatening situation because of the humanitarian crisis.
Adan Farah, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much indeed for joining us on the program and highlighting this very difficult story for Somalians. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
All right, that's Adan Farah, who's a Country Humanitarian Advisor with Save the Children International in Somalia. It's a really difficult time for that part of the world. Drought in its fourth year now, and children always vulnerable, and his organisation working very hard to try and assist as best they can. Coming back home,